We're recording. You're listening to the Tune Up and Jam podcast. Ready? Go.
Back for another episode. This is number 27, I think, yeah? Episode 27, Tune Up and Jam.
Tune Up and Jam.
All right, tune up, turn up, get down, and start jamming. Welcome and chow mung, Francito.
Chow Wong.
Chow mung.
Chow Wong.
Of course, chow mung. Chow mung.
Chow Mung.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it right, dude.
All right. Sorry. What language is that?
Of course, it's Vietnamese.
What do you mean, of course? Like, we all know that.
Well, it had to have been a South American country,
All right.
obviously, right?
Okay. Whatever you say.
So anyway, I'm Rich. That's Francis.
Hello.
We don't really introduce ourselves enough here.
Yeah, all right.
We're not, we're still new at this, I guess. My name's Rich. That's Francis.
Yep, here I am.
Chris is usually with us. Usually he's here. For some reason, he's not here tonight, though. He hasn't shown up yet.
Nope.
But Chris is usually here. We've had other people on the show before, and they're not here. It's me and Francis right now.
Yeah.
We are in Altadena.
Yep. You know where we're not?
Part of the Diggum crew.
Where we're not?
Where are we not?
Detroit.
Oh, God. Why would we be there? We are not in Detroit.
Yeah.
Somebody we know is from Detroit. Who would that be?
I'm Chris.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Chris. Chris is from Detroit. Did you know that? I think he only says it all the time.
Yeah.
What does Chris usually do anyway? Does he like practice anything? Does he do anything with himself?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, he's busy doing what? He's never here.
I don't know.
I mean,
And like a lot of kids, I just tried to figure out where to put my fingers.
oh, that's what you're doing.
Oh, all right.
That's
Whatever that means.
All right, TMI.
So, yeah, Altadena, California.
Yeah, Diggum. That's our crew name.
Yep.
That's our moniker.
Mm-hmm.
The Tune Up and Jam. We have lots of names. You know what occurred to me recently?
What occurred to you, Rich?
Here I am on the couch again.
Uh-oh.
It's time to
More
go.
therapy.
Yeah, it's time
This
to
is
go
turning
therapy
into
sessions.
Rich's therapy sessions.
It is, but they end up being good topics.
Right. But should I be charging?
No,
Okay.
you should not be charging me.
All right, fine. Well, what's on your mind?
I'm not sure I practice enough.
I
Actually, I'm not even gonna, since this is being honest here. I don't practice enough. I'm sure I don't practice enough. I can tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can feel it. I'm not in need of practice a lot.
Is that a matter of opinion?
Well, I mean, like for what I do, I should say, for what I'm expected to be playing.
In your current situation.
Yeah, right.
But an opportunity could come up where
Correct.
there's a demanding part that maybe you should have been practicing.
Right, and I think probably in that case, if and when that were to come, I would practice more.
But it would be.
But it may
late.
be too late. Yeah,
Right.
correct.
Kind of
Sometimes it may. Well, there are those things that you and I do, where we do. We have to read. It's usually some sort of a musical, and we have to read the music.
Right.
And we're automatically part of that because we've done it before, so we're like first one's called, and then we have to practice. I have to read, and we have. But I mean, we have plenty of time to do it. I think in a situation where an opportunity is there, and I'm not rehearsed for it, then that's where it's not good.
Not unlike the topic you brought up, a couple episodes ago about turning down a gig not
Right.
a gig, but necessarily a jam
Yeah.
session or an opportunity to play with others. How
Kind of related to that, yeah. Because at that point, I was kind of like a little bit apprehensive.
right.
I mean, it was part of it anyway. There was a couple of pieces of that pie, but yeah.
Yeah. But if you felt you were very, what's the word, practiced, if you felt that you were just doing your due diligence and feeling you're working at different things all the time, maybe you would have felt a little bit different about it.
Well, probably, yeah, of course. I don't. I think when I say I don't practice, it's I don't. I have, and every musician probably should. We all have it. In a drummer situation, for me, speaking with me, you know, I am naturally right-handed, although I use my left hand for a lot of things, almost ambidextrous. But you have a weak side. Everybody has a weaker side, basically.
Okay.
My left hand, because I'm righty, as most drummers would be, is my weaker. And there's a lot of things I could be doing that I don't do. I used to do it, and I got better.
Mm-hmm.
It got stronger, it got more flexible, more speed, whatever it was, to get closer to my right hand. It's never going to be the same, most likely.
Yeah.
But, so I don't do that a whole lot. I don't try to work on my weaknesses a whole lot. And I don't necessarily try to, I guess, experiment enough with stuff that I could as far as skill.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I guess in my mind, what is true for what I'm expecting for the things that I do right now, it would be kind of overkill to practice stuff that I would probably end up forcing into a lot of the kind of steady gigs that I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't see them as necessary, so I don't practice them. So I don't know if I'm being lazy or if I'm being neglectful
I think
or if I'm being practical.
I would lean towards neglect. Well, here's the thing.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I gotta
You're
tell
supposed to
you.
make me feel better about this.
Yeah. No, what I'm supposed to do.
We're going to talk about you after this.
What I'm supposed to do as your friend is to tell you the truth.
I'm not paying you for this, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, I look at it as in your practice of other things outside of your current gigging situation, you could discover new grooves that we could use in original material.
Mm.
It could be it doesn't have to be your current situation, your current gigging situation, but it could improve your technical skill. It could improve your creative output because maybe it's a particular groove that, all right, you can't use it, in your gigs, your current gigs, but this could be the basis of a particular song, because it's cool in this aspect, but you could use it somewhere else, just regardless of gigs, especially in the writing, because we all try to be creative in so many ways, and we always talk about doing more recordings and more writing, and so you're in a way, I guess I'm taking it as, hey, you're neglecting our original projects that we could be doing. So I'm being selfish in my comments right there.
Yeah, but you write all the riffs anyway.
Yeah, but when it comes to the drum,
That's an easy cop out.
when it comes to the drums, there are so many interesting things that you can do.
I know.
That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as.
So now you're putting a guilt trip on me.
You know what? I'm hoping to inspire you to do it.
You're not doing by guilting me, shaming me,
Because
telling me how disappointed you are, and how badly I'm affecting you in our relationship here.
It's all about me.
It is,
Come
man.
on.
I think we need an actual therapist in here to take care of this now.
All right, where's Mr. Schmoke?
Yeah,
when we
is he?
need him.
I don't know. He's probably teaching his fingers to do stuff.
But that's how I look at it. Like, I feel I don't practice as much, which is the truth. With doing so many things as as a very busy, responsible adult, sometimes there are just things that can take you away from practicing. However, I don't look at practicing as a choice. I look at it as it's part of the schedule that needs to be accommodated in some way, shape, or form. So, and in those practices, for me as a guitarist, it could be scales, it could be exploring different sounds of chords, and sometimes it could be just exploring, crazy ideas that could hopefully turn into new music.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it is also kind of like personal, professional development too.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it also is with me. I know myself, and I may. I mean, practice would be good, and I may start to obsess over it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get a chance to do it,
we'll just lay more guilt on you.
yeah,
So that's what we'll do.
I make it sound like I'm kind of nuts, but I'm not really.
All right.
I'm just bringing it up.
I know. No. Here's the thing. I think everybody, can get into a rut of practicing and, feel okay. I'm fine for my current situation. But the problem though is that you can get used to anything, and on the flip side, you know how we try to encourage people to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get used to doing something. But at the same time, it's like working out something. You can get used to not doing something.
Right.
And that's the danger in, especially trying to do something on a higher level, and take it to the next step, full-time professional, writing the next great song, the next great groove or idea, those things can be neglected. You can't always just expect it to come out of nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
What I've actually considered, and I mean, I don't know how seriously I've considered it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's at least I've considered, actually going and taking more lessons because I know that would get me to, and you see, I was self-taught how to play drums.
Right.
I mean, I had played instruments before. I played the trumpet, so I had a knowledge of music, and I could read music already before I played the drums.
Right.
But when I just bought my first drum set and started playing, based on songs I liked, I would just try to play songs I liked. So I was self-taught, and I got to a certain level, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, basically at all.
Right.
And I was basically at the level that I had known that I had taught myself, and then eventually I did start taking lessons, and then I skyrocketed all the things I didn't know. There's so many things I didn't know, so many different styles, so many different techniques that I had no clue about.
And I don't think it's possible to know everything anyway.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. But it just blew. I mean, I was like, and I felt myself improving, and then I couldn't stop. I was like, I wanted more. I got hungry. You know how it is. And then, you move on, you get into bands, you move on in life, you move from one city to another, whatever it is. I haven't taken lessons for a long time. And then that's why I started considering that. I was like, well, when I have a reason to practice, such as somebody telling me to,
Right.
it actually does motivate me, because I'm very motivated myself, but I'm kind of practical about myself too. I don't overdo things if I don't see necessarily a need for it. You know what I mean? I shelf it. I shelf stuff.
But you're already making that decision where that might not even be the correct decision.
Right. Well, like as you said before, that could be affecting some future opportunity.
Right. Or it could even be affecting the opportunities you are in now. I mean, let's just say you're in your mind, you're doing what is required, or you have the skills enough to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But what if, practicing took you to another, level, even within those bands, and that opens up something even within the current situation that, who knows, it inspires the others to do something maybe a little different because of this new thing you're trying and that you learned out of practice.
Yeah.
And, we can't always determine like what's ahead of us. Even in the current situations, you can't always know. how things will affect you. The surest thing you can do is know that in some way, shape, or form, you're going to get better with practice.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to affect
Well,
you.
I know that there's always room for improvement. There's always things. I can sit here and list everything that I would need to practice right now, even things I already know
Right.
how to do. I
Right.
just don't practice them, let alone things I don't know
Right.
to, acquire. Like I'm completely aware of these things,
Yeah.
That's seriously why I have considered maybe picking up on some lessons or something, for these reasons, because then that will take care of the learning new things, acquiring new skills, practicing things I know already. That will take care of that. And it will also take care of the feeling that there is a need to do it, even if it's kind of only for the next lesson. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because as I said, I have no problem motivating myself to do things, but I also have my own kind of like ceiling of, okay, don't overdo things, shelf this when you don't need it. You know what I mean? Like that just kind of it regulates me,
Because you're not one to overplay anything, anyways.
No, I don't overplay, and I'm not one of those. I don't take solos. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Right.
I don't like doing those things. So I shelf stuff that I just don't need right now. It's like putting something in the box, putting it in the attic until. Well, a lot of times we put something in the attic, forget about it. But it's not necessarily in the attic. It's just kind of like in the side cupboard where it's accessible if I need it. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: if through practice, what if you discovered that you really didn't need to shelf it? What if you just needed to approach it a certain way?
Yeah.
A particular rudiment that could really be applied in what you're doing now. It's just a slightly different enhancement of what you're currently. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
So
I know.
it's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of said it right with the rudiment thing. I mean, those rudiments, even though the rudimentary, and those are some of the things I was talking about that I already know them. You know what I mean? I just don't practice them. I just don't. Those are those things you do.
And
but it is good to revisit those things. It's
Mhm.
excellent to revisit those things and just kind of just wipe the dust off of them and get rid of some of the cobwebs and just go and just get. And I do know. You know what? Just something just kicked into me because I do know that when I've done that in the past,
Mhm.
it just translates to the next time I play.
Right.
Whatever I was working on, the muscle
Mhm.
memory comes back right there, and it translates somehow, into whatever, there might be a song and it's just the perfect spot to do whatever this rudiment is or whatever, whatever you wanted to do. It does
Right.
translate. I should
Right,
practice
because-
those things.
and
At
also-
least do those things, baby steps.
And it's the basic nature of, like, for drummers out there, right? When you learn a rudiment, right?
Mhm.
It talking about like the right hand, left hand, like a paradiddle, for example.
Right.
If you don't know what a paradiddle is, it's go ahead and
It's a rudiment. It's when you play right hand, left, right, left, right, and then
left, right, left,
left, right, left, left.
Right.
And then they have double paradiddles.
Right.
They have paradiddle diddles and
Just as an
Flammable.
example, that paradiddle, you start on your hands,
Mhm.
and you get proficient at doing the hands, and then as the basic next step, you start learning to apply them with your feet, interacting with your feet. One hand, on whatever particular drum, whether it be a snare or a tom.
Oh yeah, your right,
and
left,
your
right,
kick.
right could be your foot and left hand if you wanted to.
Right, and then that opens up.
alternating.
Right, and that opens up to all kinds of sounds, especially then you alternate that with your hat,
Mhm.
on your left foot, and
Right.
this and that. So
and
it's
you go
almost
work
like,
around the kit.
right.
Yeah.
So as a basic approach to any kind of rudiment, there seems to be almost endless amounts of approaches that you could do, because you could do a paradiddle in this one moment and then combine it or switch it up with a double paradiddle, or and then the possibilities become enormous.
Well, yeah, the combinations are just
Combinations,
endless.
exactly.
Yeah, it's endless combinations
Right.
of things.
So
It's like a factorial.
right, and I think if you get into routines of not practicing, and you only play gigs with let's say a certain style, then you are limiting yourself in what you can progress on. Even though technically you're able to pick up on something quickly, who knows what kind of missed opportunities for yourself as a musician. Not necessarily missed opportunities for gigs. I'm talking about missed opportunities for creativeness.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. You know.
Just created more work for myself.
You know,
I knew
is that such a bad thing?
No. Well, it's funny because I don't know about you. I mean, when I say I don't practice, it's not that I don't physically practice. It's constantly going on in my head, though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm
Oh, yeah.
constantly, I don't know if you do this too, I'm constantly visualizing myself playing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if I think of something to practice, I mean, I'm essentially rehearsing it in my head,
Mm-hmm.
visualizing myself, visualizing my hands and my feet doing those things,
Yeah. But just like athletes as well, you have to train your muscles to do what you want them to do.
Right.
You know, you can understand it, and you could be laying in bed visualizing all you want, but you do need to have that other aspect of physically having your body to do what you need to do. For example, when I have students come to me, or prospective students, to say, hey, well, how long is it going to take for me to understand this and do this? And usually my response is that it'll take you no time to understand. You know, if you approach it correctly, you'll understand this. You can understand so much within just the first lesson. But it goes beyond, if you want to be a musician, it goes beyond understanding. You actually have to have your fingers and your arms translate what's going on in your head. You know, actually physically press the strings on the guitar. You know, hit the right keys on the piano. You know, hit the right timing on the drums. You know, it's a physical thing that your muscles have to get used to, and that only happens through repetition. Right. So you can visualize all you want, which to me is a big part of it, but you can't escape the physical repetition.
Of course not. But I mean, I have the benefit of having years of experience,
right,
where I know that visualizing isn't enough, but I can visualize and have a head start. Put it that way.
right.
You know what I mean? I'm not if I visualize something and I want to play it, it's not going to take me as long to kind of work it out and figure it out.
See, but here's the thing that bugs me now that you've said this. It's like, you're a great drummer. You could do anything anything we come up with, we do what we need to do, and it's cool. But now you're making me think, well, what if you practiced as much as, or much more than you did? You'd be just on another level too. You'd be,
See, here you go again. Guilt trips. God.
But isn't that true?
Yes.
And
no, you're absolutely right.
And it goes the same for me. It goes the same for everybody else.
I wish Chris was here. It'd make me feel better.
Yeah, we got to have him on here. Yeah, it can't be.
If anything, he would just be like, "I never practice." Whatever. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, "See, Francis, you could yell at him, not me."
Hey, but here's the thing: you brought it up.
I know.
Yeah.
I did bring it up. I brought it on myself because I needed to hear it.
Because it was already on your mind.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't even thinking about this, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
No, I'd be hiding it from you still.
But I think that's a case where, and especially as, you do something for so long, you can get used to your routine. And even though you can learn other things or new things quickly, it's one of those cases where, well, what about the discovery? What about the discovery part of it? The discovery part of, like, we're talking about new grooves, new creative things.
I guess. Do you remember a couple of episodes ago? You asked me what I was listening to recently, what I've been listening to, and I said I started getting a little more back into like a little more prog rock stuff.
Right.
I think that might be why. Like, I think when I started hearing a little bit of that,
mm-hmm.
it got me visualizing myself playing those things.
Mhm.
So I am almost essentially, like I said, when I'm visualizing, practicing, I am kind of like seeing myself playing some of that style of music again. You know, some of those
Right.
odd meters, some of those weird beats, some of those difficult things. You know,
Technically challenging.
yeah. And maybe subconsciously that opened up that door of thinking to myself, you're not practicing enough. You know what I mean?
Like this is what you imagine yourself doing, but are you ready?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
You don't know yet.
Am I ready for what?
To play those types of things you were imagining.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, I mean, like, I would love to. You know, I do want to. I want to.
No, I meant, are you ready technically?
Oh,
That's what I meant.
I mean,
I
immediately.
See, just
Some yes, some no.
Okay, but I think that prolonged time or for answer you were thinking about it kind of says that, all right, well, there are some things you do question, some things maybe not, but some things perhaps you could.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But there would be definitely a lot of things I wouldn't try to do, probably. You know,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, that would get me rehearsing, practicing.
Yeah,
But I think
Yeah, 'cause-
I just maybe that's before I even thought of this whole I don't practice enough stuff. That whole kind of door reopening into that proggy stuff
Mhm.
might have just been that part of my brain going, you need something different than what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I
Which then led to me thinking of playing those things, visualizing playing those things, and then coming to the conclusion that I don't practice enough. You see what I'm saying?
yeah. You know what I think?
Where I was not really before cognizant of not really practicing all that much as I should.
Mhm.
Not probably should, as much as I should.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever find grooves that you explore, like without any particular music at hand, just the groove itself, or are you one of those? Are you of the type that you would want to hear a musical segment to create a groove? You know what I mean, or does it matter?
Doesn't really matter. I mean, you know me. If I sit down, I can play something. I'll play something. And it's just whatever comes out. You know. Of course, it does help if you hear something though, because then you can hear something interesting that goes into it. Or you start with something basic, and then you go, all right, I like this, but let me try this under
Mhm.
that. You know, it doesn't matter. Makes no difference. But I mean, if it was something like more technical,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'd want to hear a riff first. At this point in time, right now,
Right.
I mean, I envision myself that there would be a point where I could just sit down and start playing some strange technical weird pattern. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which would then lead into or be the idea of the groove for a song, you know,
Okay.
or something. Yeah.
All right. Because I've always talked about, I have a bunch of grooves, I have a bunch of guitar riffs
Yeah.
that weren't necessarily stuff that we were doing before, or fall in line with the stuff that we were doing in the past, but could be a little outside of what what we normally think, and basically trying to push the edge a little bit, which I think we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So maybe I'll send you a couple of riffs,
Yeah.
and you could see what comes of it, and then we could talk about the approach and
Probably
Yeah.
should.
just to explore, just
Yeah.
as a starting thing to see, hey, what kind of things could we develop,
Yeah.
and who knows, that might lead to something else where maybe you'll feel more inspired to practice.
Oh,
More,
definitely.
more.
I would be. And I'm thinking about this. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, because maybe you and I both, if you're writing different things
Hmm.
and I'm bringing this up about this right now,
Yeah.
maybe we both have felt, whether we were aware of it or not, that there's a little bit of some sort of a rut. And we are as musicians, as creative people, just naturally kind of looking towards something else to explore again,
Right.
which is not a bad thing.
I think it'd be a great thing.
Which is, I mean, this is what I do not like being in any ruts. I don't even feel that I'm in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything's similar. What I've been asked to do recently, except
Right.
for that one jazz gig.
The one that you turned down.
Yeah. But everything's fine and fun and whatever. I haven't really given much thought. I haven't been conscious of a lot of thought of saying I need something different, that I'm in a rut or anything like that, or I'm bored. I'm not bored.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. There's something that you can't stop inside of,
Yeah.
people, musicians and creative people.
Because I don't think, like, the stuff that I'm coming up with, I don't think it's coming out of boredom, because at the same time I would write something that's a little more, in line, let's just say a little more digestible, and on the flip side I'll come up with something out of left field that it's like, all right, this is probably something that doesn't fit in the context of what we're doing currently, or you know what I mean. So it's doesn't, who knows how it manifests itself, but
Right.
the fact is that if we have something, we should develop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that might go to, like I said, lead to more practicing, more explorations.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too. Yes, there's a difference. There's different ways of practicing, which is different from rehearsing, which we should talk about in a future episode.
Yeah.
We can get deep
Practice
into
versus rehearsal.
that. Right. And there comes a point too where it's like, okay, you're not necessarily practicing, let's say, technical rudiments or things like that, but you're taking the time to sit and explore, and it doesn't have to be mindless noodling. It could be exploring grooves, exploring rudiments or approaches within a context of something, within a context of particular riffs,
Yeah.
particular vibes that we're trying to explore,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just more focus. It could be like focused noodling or however you want to call it.
Yeah, definitely. But it leads to something. It can always lead to something. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I think everybody at some point, especially after you've been playing for so long, you do take a step back and you can realize, yeah, I should be practicing more,
yeah.
perhaps, but
If things are a little too routine, I'm a little too comfortable. Maybe that's what it is. I'm a little too comfortable,
right.
and I'm not. I mean, like I said, I'm having fun. I'm doing whatever.
Right.
I enjoy what I'm doing, but maybe I've stepped back just slightly, just to see, taking a little assessment and go, it's kind of routine. You got a little too much of a routine going on.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think it's always good to be self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really good, because that's one ways you can know that you could take the next steps to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're fine. There are some people that don't really want to be uncomfortable. They want to get to a comfortable place and ride that out as long as they can, which for them, more power to you if you're happy. I know I can't be happy like that.
No, me neither.
So.
I have to. I have to. I can't just settle. I can't just. I need to have something else.
Right.
I mean, that's in all aspects of my life. I just always want something else to look towards, to try to
Yeah.
challenge myself with.
I've accepted gigs. We talked about in the last episode about learning a bunch of songs quickly.
Yeah.
And there were times where I've accepted gigs knowing that, oh, wow, this is going to be a challenge. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I can get through it, but let's find out. And that's one of those cases where you learn something about yourself, what approaches you need to take to be ready for a gig, And of course, there's a lot of what sacrifices you need to make, and where do you go, sit and relax and chill out in front of the TV and watch something, or you say, no, you need to lock yourself up and, go through the tunes you need to learn or explore that. So, it takes a little bit of sacrifice and self-discipline, but it's one of those things that can be really beneficial, because when you come out on the other side, you're actually a better musician for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes it'll take a little nudge, and it'll take accepting the uncomfortable situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, I do think it's a good thing what you're saying.
No, I agree. It's a good thing. I just wonder if it's age too.
Age,
But
it could be. Who knows?
It could be, but
We're all getting old.
I don't. I mean, I threw that out there just because everybody ages. You know.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think that has necessarily been it though. I mean, I
No.
think it's more of schedule.
You know, to
more
me,
than anything.
that's exactly. I was just about to say, it's a schedule is a big part of it, and trying to be a well-rounded person, you find yourself doing a lot of different things. I mean, for example, I'm gonna step away from life or my life as it is at home here, and go away for a week, just traveling, just for a week, and that affects how I practice or what gigs I would take and etc. So, it puts me in another mindset. So, for example, in preparing for a little getaway, I always have to think, well, all right, what am I taking with me? It's going to be a week. Do I take a guitar? Do I take, what do I take? Or which guitar do I take? Because for the most part, I wouldn't want to be without a guitar for a week. That just sounds too long to be without it. Or could I find a place to practice, during that time? Or am I going to have time? So these are the things these are the questions that I answer on a regular basis when I go out of town or when I step away.
So, do you typically take a guitar with you?
I typically do. If it's going to be more than a couple days, then I'd like to take a guitar. And that's one of the reasons why I have a few different travel-sized guitars. Stuff that it's real small. It's small enough that the airlines, or you could fit in the overhead bins of the airlines. Or there's one guitar, it's electric guitar. I could literally just unscrew the neck, fold it up, and it's easily can put in my suitcase. And then wherever I get to where I need to go, put it together, 4 screws, boom, back in business. So I always try to have something, but there are times when I wasn't able to do that, and that's when I would turn to focusing on making sure that I have files on my laptop, Pro Tools sessions that I could explore, certain rough ideas that I'd lay down. And so if I'm not physically practicing the guitar, I'm at least trying to move forward with my creative projects.
So, is that what you do more of? Do you find that the reason you take is it for practice, or is it for writing, or for both?
Oh, absolutely both.
Do you find that you come up with things on the road that you wouldn't have come up with here at home?
I think that's hard to say. I would say for sure I've come up with things, just because you always want to be able to record. I mean, and if nothing else, you break out your iPhone, go to the memo recorder or whatever you call it. I have different recorders on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Just hit record and play. So regardless of where you're at, I found it to be a mixed bag of results. Sometimes you get into a routine where, all right, I'd sit, I'm in the hotel room just working on scales, but then I'd hear something interesting or, a way I'm doing a particular line. And then so I go off on a tangent exploring that. And that's not necessarily working on the theory part of it. Now I've broken off into some creative thing. Where other times, I'm just working on technical.
So it doesn't necessarily sound that places you've been have kind of
influenced
anything that you've come up with, as much as just kind of like sitting there and doodling and
you know what? I think it depends on my headspace, but yeah, there have been times. Definitely, for example, in Greece, where if I spend time in Greece, yeah, the music that you're hearing all the time, affects certain scales that you play all the time. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that it's definitely a part of it, and I've definitely had those experiences. But at the same time, if I'm there and I explore something different, it's contrasting to what I'm hearing around the radio or what's in my environment, and that's okay too. But I think it depends on your headspace. But most important thing is to do something. It is to keep busy. You know, sometimes I admit it's great if you want to lay out on a beach somewhere and just veg, close your eyes and enjoy enjoy the sounds and the relaxation. But for me personally, that comes at a limit.
So
There's only so much I could do that.
But if you didn't, let's say, you were in Greece
Mhm.
and you didn't have your guitar with you, you didn't have access to a guitar over there, and then you came back 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever length you were there for, how badly would you feel affected by that as far as playing?
I think it depends how long. There was this one line that kind of resonated with me, and I don't even know where it came from. Maybe somebody famous said it. Talk about, after a day not practicing or not playing, you notice. After 2 days, maybe your close friends notice. After 3 days, more people notice. But it's just one of those things where it could be a psychological thing where you think it's affecting you. But physically, I don't want to have an inch, not touch a guitar for more than a couple days.
Mm.
It's just a comfort thing too.
Well, it's what you do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's as much a part of you as,
Right. And there have been times where I have done that. I have gone longer than that. But more importantly, like I was saying before, was to keep active in some way. You know how we have so many great apps, music apps on our phones. Or if I have something in my head, I'll just, vocalize whatever riff that's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it down. And then for whatever time I'm away from my guitar, I'll explore that in my head. You know how, just like you're saying, you can visualize practicing and working on things?
Yeah.
It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm visualizing, there's something, a particular idea growing with this layer, this instrumentation, that arrangement, until I can come back and sit with a guitar and then work it out.
Yeah, you think in your head, okay, this chord leads to that chord.
Or even the
what if I
melody
tried
that-
this? That would make sense. Would this not make sense? But would it still be interesting?
Or
and
even,
that goes again back to some things we've talked about before, is knowing your theory too.
Right. And I don't even have to get into too much theory. It could be, for here, I want to feel more percussion. I want to hear the drums getting stronger. I want to hear some kind of nice, string pad right below it, or I want the bass and the drums to be locked in here and nothing else. And those time of arrangements could go through my head as well. Doesn't necessarily have to talk about specific chords or
Hey, how many times has it happened where you thought you were writing one thing,
yeah.
and the end result was completely different than what you were?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Does that happen more often than not?
Yeah, probably. In fact, I was going through the other day. I was going through some voice memos that I had made of different riffs, because the times when you're away from your guitar, and just as I'm describing, then I'm sitting with. By the time I sit with my guitar, that idea had already changed into something very different from the original voice recording that I made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how I think, oh wow, that voice recording. If one person heard that, and then heard how it came, it would be such a difference.
But why is that though? Is it just because your voice sounds you didn't sing it right, or you
no,
forgot it, or
I'm actually
what is it?
I'm talking about the variety of the phrasing of the riff itself. Because if I'm talking about if a riff goes a particular way, and then it's marinating in my head for a day or two, then I'm revisiting, I'm playing it along within my head. And then it's like, oh, if I just added this, or if I repeated this part, or if I, extended this, I had to add a little space in between here, or this phrase. And so by the time I have it locked in my head, and I pick it up and I work it out on the guitar, and I think, okay, that's the riff. That's could vary from that initial idea that was planted.
Have you heard like an entire song, or at least beat, melody, all the parts in your song in your head, but it didn't sound like that in the end?
Yeah.
Is that disappointing?
Happens too.
Or is it just Is it that you didn't? It didn't come out the way you heard it in your head, which gave you
because
the. I mean,
yeah, that was this great masterpiece, this great, incredible riff that I had.
They're all
in my
just
head.
like, yeah.
Oh wow, it's something. Yeah, and here's the thing: I try not to overanalyze it. The only thing I try to do is, if it's somewhat interesting to me, then I want to capture it on my way. So if it's something that I thought, wow, this is really cool, I have this in my head, so I'll try to I'll vocalize it on my iPhone. Then I'll sit with the guitar, work it out. And then I get close to it, and I think, this sounds like it, but it's kind of flat.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, on to the next one.
Or maybe
False
you just
alarm.
hear certain qualities of sound in your head that you just can't match with whatever the equipment is you have, and so it just doesn't. I've done that in my head where I've heard, a song, a melody, the parts to it, but there's a specific sounds or sound qualities that I don't have access to, and so it just kind of goes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't had that. I mean, being an audio engineer and having a library of all kinds of sounds, I don't think I've ever come across that. But at the same time,
Francis,
no. But what I mean to say also is that, like when I first started learning to become an engineer, things were focused so much so on the sound and the pristine sound of this and sound of that, where you learn how to capture sounds, and then there was at some point where I realized, and I've been part of a lot of different sessions, where of course as an engineer you're trying to capture the best sounds you can, but in the end you're spending a lot of time with these mediocre or, frankly, terrible songs. And it got to the point where I was thinking, you know what? I think it's just better to capture a great song or a great performance. Yes, do the best you can for the sound, but really let the performance or let the song be the priority. Just do the best you can with that. And so when I'm coming up with these ideas in my head, I'm really trying to focus on more of the song itself, the riff itself. And then I'll worry about the sound or the production later, because there's always something in production we can make happen. So, yeah. That's just
and
me.
then in the studio, ideas lead to more ideas, which lead to more ideas, which lead to more sounds. More
Right, yeah. So I never really worry about that part. That
rolls.
Yeah, that part will come. But to me, the hardest thing is coming up with, the actual song idea, something that really is going to resonate with you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as a guitarist, you get way more of the ideas, the original idea than I do. But because I'm more of once I hear that idea, then I go with like, oh yeah, ideas come to me. I don't necessarily originate, but that's just that's just
right.
I don't come up with it. I don't play an instrument enough like guitar or any other melodic instrument where I doodle enough to come up with stuff like that. I come up with grooves. Right. You know what I mean? But
but you are. That's actually one of your strengths, I think, is I guess we would call it in the producing end of it. It's like, okay, there's an idea, or here's the seed of an idea, and you can actually mold that into something really, really cool.
Yeah, that's more my strength than actually coming up with the original idea.
Yeah, and that in itself is not an easy thing to do. So, yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, So what I have, that's what I do. So it's fun with me. It's fun. It's fun. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
When those ideas just start popping out.
And that's the kind of going away from the conversation about practicing. I mean, that's on the musician side of things, but then when you start getting in wearing like a producer's hat, it's a whole another world. Yeah. But it's just as fun and
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I really like it. I really enjoy doing like producing stuff in the studio.
Yeah.
Because it is like putting a piece of a puzzle together that doesn't even exist yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and
it's
you're
creating.
just like creating
it,
and then it's really cool. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it can be tedious and frustrating, but it is really fun. It's a completely different animal.
Yeah, especially when the end results, turn out a lot better than you'd originally imagined. That's the cool part.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing it as a team, and then it's just like any other team. Whenever you complete whatever it is you did, and you both, or however many people were involved who were working on the production side of it, all have that same kind of feeling when they're done. Like, wow, dude, that part right there just works so perfectly, just like we wanted it to, man. It sounds so, and you like, someone's like hitting a home run in baseball, you high five and everything, like, you don't necessarily do the high fives, but you're just like, you got that same kind of shared.
You do the high fives. Come on.
Yeah, okay.
You do that.
Yeah, we get cheesy. But you get that same kind of feeling of accomplishment, that kind of, what is the excitement
Oh yeah.
and stuff out of it, which is shared. It's cool. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah, there have been so many endless hours in the studio where the time just flies by just because you're having so much fun, And at some point, you figure, probably sleep would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Probably go home and sleep, and
Or you get that idea and you know exactly what you want to hear, and everybody knows what you want to hear. You just can't find it yet, so you work on it and you work on it, and 1 hour becomes 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever, just on one little section of a song.
right.
We've done that before. We've worked on one little section of a song for like 8 hours just to get that right sound, or whatever it is, what we're trying to get. We just know it when we hear it.
Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes, and then another time we will spend no time on it. It just happens.
Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah.
Or it's just a mistake.
Yeah.
And you go, whoa.
Here's everything in between, but the exciting part is you don't always know what's going to happen. You know? And that's the cool thing is that as long as it ends up being cool, it's like who cares? Who cares if it was a mistake? Who cares if the end result is what you're
Yeah,
really
who cares? Yeah, it was a good mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what do they call it? Serendipity.
Yeah. There you go.
Serendipity.
Yeah. Cool stuff, man.
Anyway, so
you're going to practice more. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I think maybe I will. We'll see. See how I feel when I get home.
All right. That sounds good. We'll have to I'll throw some ideas your way and hopefully they can be inspiring. Or maybe I'll throw an idea your way and you're going to listen to it and say, "Hey, what if we tweak this and tweak that?"
Yeah.
And we have something, and you see, then we'll have a snowball effect, and we'll just end up with other cool stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. So, hey, if you guys want to hit us up, you want to join in on the conversation, be a part of our show, hit us up, podcast@tuneupandjam.com, or connect with us on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, and definitely we'd love to have you. Let us know.
Yeah, and, spread the word. Tell some other people about us. Give us a review. I know you can do that on iTunes. Give us a review, anything like that. It'd be helpful. Even if you don't like us, let us know. Let us know what we can improve.
Yeah, or if you know somebody that could benefit or would love to come onto the show, you don't have to be for yourself. If you know any of your musician friends or anybody in the music industry at all, just send them our way, and I'm sure we're going to have a good time.
Send some links our way. Send some music our way, too.
Yeah.
We are musicians. We like to hear other people play, too.
Yeah. Hey, then you can critique. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to critique, let us know.
But here's the thing. Only send it to us if you want an honest opinion.
Yes. Yeah, because we will.
Yes, we can. We can't be bought or sold. Sorry. When it comes to this, we'll try to keep our integrity intact here and give it as simply and honestly as we can.
Yeah.
So, anyways, hit us up. And anything else?
I think that's about it. I gotta
Cool.
go practice.
Yeah, go practice. Later.
Later.
Bye.